Welcome to another episode of the Refined Peasants podcast. I'm Wyatt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nick.
Alright, let's get after it. Alright, and today we're going to be talking about, what can we know is truth, and, this is more of like a philosophy type podcast and everything. So, if you didn't know, epistemology is sort of like the study of knowledge and truth, and like what can we say is true? What can we show to be true? So
what is objective truth?
Right. So what would you both say is like objective truth? Like how would you both say, like define the word?
Gravity. Always true. If I pick up a Coke can and let go, it will drop and hit the floor.
Okay.
At least on Earth. Gravity on Earth.
Okay.
So we can calculate.
So Garrett, how would you define truth or objective truth? Truth with a capital goddamn T.
Probably complete knowing and understanding. So I wouldn't say that observing a can fall to the earth is truth about gravity. I would say understanding why that can.
So the mathematics and the logistics behind it.
We need to have basically all the forms of knowledge that we can to understand why something is the way it is, to understand that what we are saying is objectively true. Because there's always a chance that you could be wrong. So it could be just a theory here. It's not the mass of the two objects that draws them together. It could be some sort of unknown force acting on them. Therefore, gravity isn't the force pulling the can to the ground. It's whatever other force is. Now, the result is the same, but the truth isn't.
Okay. So I would say that objective truth is what you can show to be true. So like if you can demonstrate something, that would be proof that it's true in an objective sense. So like gravity. Gravity's never going to change. There's nothing that's going to change that unless other forces, like if like the Andromeda galaxy crashes into Earth, like that'll obviously change things, but
yeah, lots of stuff's going to get fucked up when that happens.
Yeah, so I'm saying like from here, like, if you dropped an apple on Earth, it's always going to fall.
It's going to fall at the same speed as a bowling ball.
In a predictable rate. And that's what I think objective truth is. So, like, how do you guys think we can find, or if we can find, objective truth?
I just right off the bat, I don't think we can. I think objective truth is beyond the capability of humans.
Okay.
There's always going to be a question.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of that goes to, so you said that like it requires like complete knowledge.
Right.
I would say that it just requires like relevant knowledge. So like, for example, like what we know about history, about like George Washington. There's nothing that will ever overturn the fact that he was the first president. No new evidence is going to come up that says that he wasn't. It's always going to be that. So we don't need complete knowledge to know that for absolutely certain, right?
I mean, I would say, yeah. Like, so, it would be a longer statement. Like, so George Washington was the first president of the United States of America under the Constitution of the United States.
Okay, yeah. So, but nothing will change that. So we're absolutely certain of that.
Right.
And we're absolutely certain, at least, that we exist, right? Like
are we?
That's the whole, like, I think, therefore I am type thing.
Yeah, but AI thinks.
Are we a simulation?
Like, we could exist inside a giant simulation.
So that's sort of the thing, like, the idea of solipsism, the idea that we could be, like, a dream of Brahma, or a brain in a vat, or we could just be some teenager's computer program. I mean, I don't really buy into any of that. Because, I mean, the argument negates itself. So, like, even if we were in a simulation, we still adhere to that reality. We still adhere to the program rules, right?
But reality isn't what we think it is.
Is that true in that case? So, like, if let's pretend we were a computer program for a second. We can prove the laws of the computer program. Like,
right.
For our purposes, that's what reality is.
But wouldn't outside the computer program be reality? If we exist inside a simulation, our simulation may be reality to us, but that's subjective.
Right? No. Because that's no. Because even if we are in a simulation here, we still have pain, suffering, love. We have all the things that make us unique, even if we're just in a highly advanced AI.
What if we're just?
And first of all, I don't
just programmed. To
Right. I don't think anybody here believes.
And I just want to. Yeah, I was about to say I don't think we are like a brain in a vat. I'm just saying that even if we were, the argument negates itself because we still adhere to the reality of the
simulation. So you're all trying to tie reality to reason?
What do you mean?
So the main thing of philosophy was it's reality and reason. So I can reason something, but in reality, it's not true.
Yeah. So
what is logically conclusive is not always truth with a capital T.
Plato's biggest thing was we have Earth, and then there's a form of Earth where everything is perfect. So that was his reason, but reality says that's not true.
Yeah. So reason, if you can think of reason, it's like a tool. There are good and bad reason.
It's an aspect of the human mind.
And that's what we're trying to understand.
A great
example, what is
good?
What is the best way to find the reality? How can you prove reality?
So a good example is reality to reason is your mind doesn't learn stuff, it creates it. So I don't learn that's a tree. I create in my mind that's a tree. I can't remember.
There's actually a quantum physical element to that.
There's a lot of philosophers. It all depends on your philosophers. I mean, everyone was different. One said everything's synthetic, so nothing is real, nothing is. So
either nothing is real or everything's real. So there's not like a partial real, partial not in this equation. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So
either it's all fake or none of it.
So we're trying to answer a question that has been stumping philosophers back since
and we're
past Plato.
And between the three of us, we're about to do it in an hour. Buckle up.
You ever seen a montage, motherfucker?
But so one of the big things of philosophy is how do we think, how do we learn, and what values can we do?
So I think I've used this example on Wyatt, but Garrett, in the fewest words possible, describe a human. Fewest words possible, 2 words.
Damn, that's a little difficult. Fewest words possible. An entity that contains human DNA.
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so you know what Plato...
That is self-replicating human DNA.
I want... No, fewest words, simple words.
I know, but self-replicating needs to be in there.
Okay.
Because a dead body's not a human, but it contains human DNA. If a lion eats a human arm, it contains human DNA. It doesn't make it human.
So back in Plato's time, they asked... This is a big question. Describe a person in the fewest words. And he said, hairless biped. And at the time, everyone thought that was genius. Until this guy Dionysius came along with a defeathered chicken in the middle of his class, threw it on the floor, and said, "Hey guys, look at this person."
Right.
And then he left, and it's he's got a point. So Plato's reason for a human was just hairless biped. In reality, there's a lot more that goes into being a person.
Right. And I would agree with that. I mean, you can't. It's hard to really rationalize any kind of existence. So describe that can in the fewest words, but only that can.
Yeah.
It can't attribute to all other cans. It has to be
Yeah.
only that can.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
not all the other species of alcohol beverages.
So that's always that. Back then, it's what stumped philosophers was in the fewest words describe a person, and Plato's was the only one, and then this guy comes in.
Well, ancient philosophers were also, as far as, their philosophy, they were a little bit behind the curve, because they didn't really have science back then.
Right, they didn't have all the tools necessary. Now, some of them did.
It was...
I don't know, what is it?
Almost complete speculation by most of them. Archimedes was a pretty good philosopher, too. He was also a really good inventor. And that's sort of the kind of person I'm after. Because I
like Aristotle.
So, in my opinion, only useful information has, practical application.
So
right. Wow.
Your best...
U.S. military ad right there.
Yeah.
The only useful information has practical applications.
After seeing the new U.S. commercial, I don't want to join.
Well, so you would argue that trying to verify the existence of a human soul isn't useful?
Well, so like that's we can get right into it.
Oh, actually, hold on. Have y'all seen the study where we calculated how much a human soul weighs? It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Are you serious?
No, so
there's a weight difference. When you die.
So when you die, you lose a few grams of mass. This isn't gas. This isn't like you legit.
I feel like this is the similar question, like how many angels can dance on the head of a pen? It's like we have no idea.
But there's
as many as God wants to be.
Exactly.
So,
but no, I know what you're talking about.
So they did a study, and literally every patient who dies, they weigh before and after, and when they weigh after, they are lighter.
Okay, so hold on. Tell you what, we can just go right into metaphysics. Or do you guys would you rather talk about metaphysics now, or would you rather talk about like reality first? And that's not supposed to come across in that way.
Derogatory. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So like there are two different realms. Like if you're
like what can we observe black holes, and is there a soul?
Exactly.
Are two different things.
They're two types of questions. Right. So it wasn't like anyway. So
let's do reality first, and then we'll get into metaphysical. Because like I said, I'm pretty interested. I find the verification of the existence of a human soul to be very intriguing.
Well, metaphysics was part of my plan for the podcast, because that's stumped philosophers for forever. So, so sticking with reality. So, like, what would you guys define as reality? Like
the observable universe?
Yeah, so I would say like what we can demonstrate. So like what we can show to be true, right? So like we can show that there's a sun. We can show like how we orbit around it. At the same time, it orbits around the center of our galaxy, and the center of our galaxy orbits around. Like we can show all of that, right? And nothing's going to change that.
Well, that's not true. Something could change it.
No.
I mean, something could change our fundamental understanding of physics.
No, I don't think. Do you really think so?
So what if we find out that there is no particle? So the Higgs boson. Let's just, for instance, say that the Higgs boson didn't exist. Mass didn't come from a particle.
But you can't say that, because whenever we're talking about changing our understanding. Right.
So what happens if the Higgs boson actually gets its mass from another particle, an even smaller particle?
I mean, that could be entirely possible.
Now it doesn't change the reality that the Higgs boson is what gives objects mass, but it does change on where that mass originally comes from.
Right. So I think what
I guess in the end the sun still weighs the same.
Right.
But
so like to find objective truth, I mean nothing. So like take dark matter and dark energy, for example. We really don't know what type of force that is.
Well, and just for everybody listening, in case you're not into cosmology like we are, the universe as we know it is 80% unaccounted for. Like, we realize by our math that the universe and galaxies specifically only form at a certain critical mass level. But when we observe these galaxies, we can only observe 20% of the mass needed to create them. So either galaxies form something in a way radically different than what we understand, or there's dark energy and dark matter that we can't observe, but we can mathematically see is there.
Right. And so if and when we figure that out, that's not going to change anything we know about the modern universe.
Well, I disagree. It will change how we think galaxies are formed.
So if you can think of information as like a loading bar, right? And let's just say we're 50% there. We're probably not. So it's not like understanding dark energy is going to change everything and we start over at zero. It's just going to increase the loading bar, right? It's only going to add to our understanding. It's not going to really change much, right?
So my issue there is we are dealing with dark energy and dark matter. We are dealing with unaccounted for mass.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by finding out what that unaccounted for mass is, at least on the macro scale
Mm-hmm.
of the universe, it would change how we think gravity operates.
Right, but it wouldn't change what we can already measure about gravity.
Yeah, the sun's not suddenly going to be 1,000 times bigger because we discover what dark energy
and
is.
it's not going to change anything we know about gravity mathematically because we've already proven that. So what I'm saying is reality, if we've proven it, we've proven it.
But can you prove something when there's still contradictions?
Well, I don't know of really any contradiction in...
80% missing mass.
Yeah, so...
That's a glaring contradiction,
So, a lot of that is unobservable. So, a lot of that is like, there should be, like, galaxies where they are not. Or, like, so a lot of this, it's our mapping of the universe.
Well, no, it's to form the Milky Way with our current understanding of gravitational force, we have to have 80% more mass to get where we are.
Right, and I'm saying that, like, so that mass may not, it's not that the mass isn't there, it's that the mass, we can't account for the mass. So it may be on a hidden planet on the other side of the galaxy that we can't see.
Or it's entirely wrong.
Or it's entirely wrong, but the problem is that we've gotten extremely far with what we know now. So we know it has at least practical application, right?
Okay.
So if it's got practical application, that means there's at least... I mean, we may have gotten lucky about pointing out where these galaxies are, but we can also prove it within our own solar system to a T. So, and that's... So the astronomy one's not really the one I'm really worried about. It's really like the information of, like, today.
Well, so my question then would be, how do you have objective, capital T, truth if you can't explain an aspect of that truth?
So a lot of times, why gets asked. So it's like, the sun is at the center and the earth goes around the sun. And people will ask, why? And what they're really searching for is the purpose of it. And it's kind of a silly question, to be honest with you. Like the sky is blue, and then someone says, why? But they're not asking, like, what causes the sky to be blue. We can explain that. They're asking, no, but why specifically blue? Why couldn't it be? And it's like, that's a silly question.
But that doesn't change that you can't answer.
Really? Well, it's there's no reason. So you're asking, like, what purpose could this have? And it's like, well, the science...
I could just as easily ask how. Instead of why, I could ask how. And eventually...
But we can explain how.
But we can until a point.
Right, and I'm saying, so, like, but you get to the fringe stuff, is what I'm saying. You get to, like, quarks and stuff, and we really don't know, like, quantum mechanics, and we don't know. But we know a lot up to that point.
But I'm just saying, if at some point I can get you to a point where it's I don't know, then how do you have objective truth?
Because that doesn't change what we already know.
It might.
So
you don't know that.
So no. So just because I can't tell you why an engine runs, right? I mean, we know that the engine does run in a truck. Like, that's how it starts. That's how it goes, right?
Okay.
But then you're whenever you seek purpose in something like that, it's a silly question.
But it's not seeking purpose. It's seeking an explanation. That's why I said switch why for how.
And so this is, I think a lot of people are wanting to assert purpose to it, and I think that's kind of my problem. It's like we're at odds here with what we're trying to understand. If we're trying to further our understanding, we should accept where we are limited. So, like, we can't explain to you why the sky is blue instead of, say, olive green or red. Like,
well,
that's a silly
chemical
question.
makeup of the sky is
No.
It's a reflection of
no, because I can play this game with you where you explain how and why, and I explain, well, why wasn't it red? Like, why is it this? And then I can get you to a point where you two don't know, and it's like, well, it's an irrelevant argument. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I bet you couldn't.
But that's not really the part that I'm worried about.
I say, what? I bet you couldn't get to me. I don't know.
But
The sky being blue.
so that's not really the part I worry about. So people use that to say we can't know anything, and it's like, well, hold on. Now.
That's me. So in your engine,
So we can't know anything.
I can know that the engine runs, but I can't for all I know, it could just be magic that makes the engine run. Now, it doesn't change the fact that the engine is currently running.
So just a personal, not your personal, but just a personal lack of understanding doesn't change the fact that the engine runs.
Well, I'm talking about a civilizational lack of understanding, but again, it doesn't change the fact that the engine runs. But if all you know is that it runs, then you don't really know anything other than it runs.
Okay, so this is sort of the problem that I think we're running into like today in modern society is that they favor your viewpoint. So like if we can't know everything about everything, then we know nothing about nothing, which means I know just as much as the experts. And it's like, I don't even know how you get the leap of logic to get from here to there. You know?
There are things that we can learn, but to pretend like it's objective truth with a capital T.
So, in other words,
it's not.
I got a question. So we all know atoms are real. They exist. Atoms are a thing.
Well, he would tell you we don't know that.
Yeah, because we don't know
That's
what they
not
look.
true.
We
can observe that atoms are real.
We don't know what they look like.
So atoms are objective truth, right? They exist.
Go ahead and finish.
So atoms exist. We do not know what atoms truly look like. We can hypothesize, and you'll see in science, especially if you take chemistry, they'll show you the rings, the electrons going around. We know they go in a fixed rotation. We don't know what else the atoms look like. I mean, if you take any science class, they're going to teach you atoms started off as cookie dough looking like, and then it evolved and evolved. So we don't know what they look like, but we know they're real. We don't know how they work and what they do, but we know they're real. How do we know that? Mass. Everything.
But what I'm saying is, so like, you can't say atoms aren't real because we can prove that they are real. It doesn't require a personal belief either. So like, you don't have to be like, say, a Hindu to believe it, or you don't have to be an atheist to believe in atoms. Because atoms are true whether or not, irregardless of your personal beliefs. You know? So like, that's what makes them objective truth to me, is that they don't require a fixed belief to believe them, and we can demonstrate them to be true.
But what if your demonstration proves that, say you have a demonstration to prove that atoms are true. What if it proves that atoms are true by accident?
What do you mean?
So, like, the intent you have... I don't know. Hang on, I'm going to have to think about this. You'll keep talking.
Okay, so let's... So just a simple question. So, there is no doubt it is objective truth. It doesn't matter if you're atheist, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Zoroastrian. Ronald Reagan was the winner of the 1980 election in the U.S. That is objective truth. Nothing's going to change that, ever. No further understanding of history, no further understanding of economics, no further understanding of astrophysics, chemistry, archaeology. Nothing will ever change that fact. And that's what makes it objective. And it doesn't require a fixed belief to believe it. We can just demonstrate it to be true. And I say that would be a part of objective truth. So objective truth isn't just whatever we claim to know. It's whatever we can show to be true. So if I can show it to be true...
What if your data points are wrong, though?
Well, they can't be wrong on this issue. On this
issue, yes.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So we can have some objective truth. Right?
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So I don't think it's an all or nothing type thing. And I don't know why... Why does it get viewed that way?
Why does it get viewed as an all or nothing? Well... Because new information can change things radically.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding that you can split an atom changed physics. Now, It didn't change gravity, but it changed E equals mc squared.
Right, but what I'm saying is, so for things today, like that there is no debate for, most of history, a lot of science, nothing.
Zero will always be zero.
Right. Just logically speaking, that's what it's always going to be. It's never going to not be zero. And that would be in the realm of objective truth. because if we can show it to be true, and it doesn't require like a faith belief or something like that. So
So what if you could show it to be true, but only with a limited amount of information? So in this room right here, I can show to be true that every person within 100 yards is male.
okay.
That's not true. My wife's in the house. But the information set I've been given, the observation of this room, shows that to be true.
No. No. You are operating in opposition to the observation, because the observations would tell you that there is a woman in the other room.
Assuming somebody went and saw, right? Went and gathered that information.
But you admitted yourself that you knew, right?
Yes.
Okay, so like
But I'm
that's
saying, if nobody knew,
okay.
then I would state, okay, every person in 100 yards is male.
So what? So
that
how,
would not be true,
but you
even though
understand,
the data shows it to be
but
true.
that's not how science works. So there's a way to falsify that. There's a way to show whether you're right and whether you're wrong.
By gathering all information available.
By gathering the information we need. So in other words, we need to scout in 100-yard radius and make sure that there are no females. And if there are no females, you were right. And if not, let's say we find your wife, then we need to regather based on the data that we have and say there are all but one. And that increases our understanding, right?
Well,
Because that's the world we live in.
It would say, no, not all of you are male.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Which
So
would change.
You would have to come up with a new hypothesis then.
So more information could change the objective truth.
Right. Well, no. Because if you can show something to be true, it's never going to not be true. So, for example, when Galileo looked through a telescope for the first time at the moon, and he saw mountains. Before then,
the moon was a wheel of cheese.
And craters. Before then, Christian dogma was that the moon was perfectly spherical. That was not based on data. That was not based on evidence. That was not based on what you can see. You can see craters with your own eyes.
Well, you can see discolorations, but it does look perfectly spherical. So it is based on...
No, but it's not based on... so there's no way to prove them false until we get technology that we can falsify. And that's the big thing. How can we show whether or not you're right? How can we show whether or not you're wrong? That is what helps us figure out what is objectively true. And a lot of this, so like we can go to the fringe stuff like astrophysics and like black holes and are there wormholes and gravitational waves. But
well, there's for sure gravitational waves.
You gotta
observe them.
But you would say that they're, that maybe those aren't what that is, even though we can show it to be true.
I mean, that's fair.
But we know that that's what it is. But
so can we have objective truth in like social sciences?
What do you mean?
So, we'll just use Biden's approval ratings. Can we know that that's objective truth?
Probably not.
Okay.
So, because
but we can objectively
prove
that Biden is the president right now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, depending on who you ask. If you ask anyway,
I did appreciate that you used Reagan and not the 2020 election.
Yeah, I did that because our viewers may be QAnon, but
I doubt it.
We'll see.
I hope not.
We'll find out in the comment section below.
Yep. If you support Q, let me know and I'll ban you. But, so
already doing censorship, are we? Why?
But we can prove, not just beyond a reasonable doubt. We can prove like capital T truth in reality. It's just whether or not we have all the answers yet. That's my point.
But can you prove objective truth without all the information?
Yeah. Well,
I can prove World War I happened, but if you want to know
without knowing who started it,
you want to know why World War I happened, you got to go back far before the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. So we know World War I to be true, but what caused it is a huge debate.
So we also need to look at knowledge almost like a tree, right? So we don't have to know everything about everything to know something. We can know something about everything, and that's not going to change the other parts of the tree.
Well, and I think so. I think part of the problem with this disconnect is people state things and then call them objective truth when they're not.
Oh yeah, no, I 100%
So I would
believe
so
that.
just on the opposite side, I use Biden's approval ratings. Some people would say it is objectively true that Donald Trump is the best president ever, and it's not.
No,
it's not, because one, that's a matter of personal opinion, but even by metrics, that's not true.
Right.
But people will state their opinions and then follow it by, this is objective truth, and then people are like, no, that's not objective truth.
Right. So I think people for sure have a problem stating their opinions about things as fact. And that's a problem. There's no question there. But then people start to question the realms of science. Like, there are people that still deny things like climate change and evolution.
You're flat earthers.
And yeah, whether or not the earth is flat. And
dinosaurs are real.
And it's like, okay, we need to get a grip on what reality is, because these are not up for debate. These things are not. These are not up for discussion. And science will move on with or without you. Even scientists give no fricks what non-scientists think. They don't even give a frick what other scientists think half the time. But would we all agree on a working definition for reality in terms of practicality? So if you can think of it if you can think of information again as a loading bar, we're just going to increase our understanding, right? And we may not get to the end of the loading bar, maybe ever, but we're only going to increase our understanding probably going forward.
Yeah, probably. I mean, barring some cataclysmic event that throws us back to the Stone Age.
Yep. Which, we talked about could be possible, according to the last podcast. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
If a meteor hit the Earth, who knows what would happen. But
in 100 years, we all think the moon is smooth again.
But now, here is where it meets kind of the road. The rubber meets the road. Because you throw in something that science can't detect. And this is the realm of metaphysics. And I'm no expert in this, so would either one of you two like to describe what metaphysics maybe is or isn't?
So, Nick, go ahead.
So, from what I know of metaphysics, it was made by Aristotle. So Aristotle was the one who created metaphysics.
As a concept.
Yes, and I can't remember. He wrote a book on it, and so his whole point was to disprove Plato. So his whole point. I gotta look. There's he has 3 laws of logic, which today it gives us stuff like PlayStations, Apple Watches. It gives us these things now. And I think one of his quotes is, I gotta look at it. It's like if a statement is true, then it has to be true. Or, let me look.
Anyway.
That sounds like truth is unchanging.
Yeah.
Right.
So if something is true, it will always be true. So gravity will always be true.
Right.
We may not know why.
We can calculate it, and we know if I drop a bowling ball and an apple, they're going to fall at the same rate.
So, I think metaphysics helps solve what science can't. For example, the why question we were talking about. So, why is gravity? Well, and a lot of people tune into the realm of metaphysics, which, we don't know that it's true, but, it seems to help fill the gaps that we have, right?
Right. So, just from a Christian perspective, why is gravity here? Well, because God created a working universe.
Exactly.
He needed physics to make it work, so that's why it is.
And there are things like the soul, which, we don't know that we're ever going to be able... So, by definition, you can't prove the metaphysics.
Yeah.
Right? So,
metaphysics, I guess my best description of it would be things that are beyond the realm of scientific.
So how the law... So the first law of logic goes, there either is P, and that's it. It is impossible for there to be negative P. This is just an example. The second law is there's either P or negative P. And then the third one, I ain't gonna pretend to know how the fuck this works, because I ain't that smart, but... God, it's complicated.
Do you want me to read it?
So it has variables. So f is true and an individual variable x. So f is true for x, or f...
Well, if we don't understand it, I don't want to waste time on the podcast about
it. Yeah.
If we're just going to sit here and be like, I don't know what that means.
Well, I looked at it, and the very end says simply that x is x.
Oh.
So X is X. No
So
matter.
Wyatt is Wyatt. Wyatt will always be Wyatt.
Garrett
And Wyatt will never be Nick.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's, like, if y'all ever had a philosophy class, I mean, like, logic is one of the first things they're going to teach you.
Apple is apple, and it'll never be orange.
Exactly.
Right.
So you can have apple or an orange, or apple.
Right.
So it's like...
So, and that would be objective truth.
Yes.
Right.
On a small scale, and that's...
And
yeah.
for a long time... sorry, Mike.
Yeah, so we're on metaphysics now. So, like, things like the soul. So, like, how... Like, you can't prove a soul. So how can we explain a soul?
Theoretically, you could prove a soul.
No, because, I mean, by necessity, metaphysics are
But what if the soul isn't metaphysical? What if it is actual physical? So, what if your soul is energy?
We probably would have found it by now.
Well, so, Nick, we were talking about how your body actually weighs slightly less after death.
There could be, honestly, probably a number of reasons for it.
I mean, you'd have to plug every orifice to prevent the escaping of gas. You'd have to, and this is all while they're still alive, keep in mind. Like, this would be highly unethical. But...
Maybe China will do it.
Yeah, China. They do unethical shit all the time. But you would basically have to encase the living person in concrete, and then weigh them when they die.
And even then, you're talking about a few grams.
It is just
I don't think that's a smoking gun that you guys might think.
So...
But, I mean, generally, like, people accept that. Like, metaphysics is stuff that we can't explain. So, like, Moses parting the Red Sea. There's no amount of science that is ever going to explain that. That is
parting of an ocean with a staff.
That is impossible, according to science and reality.
Right.
But, based on our belief, we believe that happened.
Right.
We cannot prove that.
So, in reason... We believe that happens, when in reality, we all know that can't physically
Well, I wouldn't argue that that's a matter of reason, that's a matter of faith. So, reason is...
Well, often the two are at...
They're so the problem is... So, whenever you say reason and faith usually go hand in hand. Faith and reality, reason and reality go against each other. They clash. They've been trying for hundreds of thousands of years, trying to just connect them. And they can't.
So it is like to our last podcast. It is reasonable to think that there's civilization before what we acknowledge as civilization, but that does not mean that it's objective truth.
Right.
Reality.
Right.
So
reality says no, but reason says yes.
Yeah. So like justified belief is so you can justify any belief however you want. But is it objective truth? That's kind of what I think what matters.
Right.
And so there are things that we take on faith, and what do you do for those? Like, how would you
scientifically prove faith?
Well, how do you prove to a Hindu the parting of the Red Sea? Because he doesn't buy into the Christian faith or the Jewish faith or the Muslim faith. So how do you prove to him that happened? Well, we can't. It's not like we're going to run a test where we split the Red Sea.
Right.
So it's like, well, what do we do from there then? Like, how can we prove that to them? Or something like that. Like, how can we prove the soul exists?
You would have to have, video evidence. So if you had video evidence of Moses parting the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Even if we can't explain it, then it would become objective truth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like, if magic were real. Like, that would be metaphysical. And, even if you could perform, real magic, and scientists they wouldn't be like...
And yeah. I'm not talking about, Wiccan rituals or...
Yeah, I'm talking, you could...
I conjure a fireball in my hand.
Right, so hypothetically, if that was true, right, science couldn't say you couldn't do it, right? They would have to be like, look, even if I can't explain it, I have to acknowledge that you're capable of doing this.
Right.
And we can put you in all sorts of laboratory tests to make sure that you're not cheating in some sort of way. And if you could still do it, science would be like, I have no idea. Right? So.
But you're staying in this cage where I can study you till I find out.
But would it be objective truth that humans could make fireballs then? It's like, I don't know.
They have the capability at least, right?
Well, at least he does. Or whoever does.
So it may not be an aspect of humans, it might just be him.
We have no, and that's the thing, we don't know. And I think that's the part where we have to kind of wrap our mind around is what can we know versus what can't we know. And we have to be honest with ourselves. So, like in the last podcast, we talked about an ancient civilization. Well,
there may be a point where we can't know. Because 10,000 years is a long time, or 12,000 years is a long-ass time, and there may not be a lot of evidence left.
Right. And it's it's like, how do you prove a negative belief? You know, so it's not, the belief isn't necessarily based on evidence. It's based on, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe faith, but not in the sense of religious faith. But some beliefs are made you just believe them just because you believe them.
Right.
It's like, well, what do you do for those beliefs?
Like, I believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, and so that's another one. So, what scientific evidence? I feel like that's one we can prove or disprove, and we just kind of, there's nothing that's come forward.
Right.
So it's like, well, I think we have to make sure what area we're dealing with. Are we dealing with reality? Are we dealing with metaphysics? Because I feel like there's a decent amount of speculation in both, but as far as like getting like a proven exact answer, I feel like reality gives us the
best hope. So you're not going to find a...
Right.
It's going to be very difficult to find. So in quantum mechanics, there's something called quantum entanglement, and I'm not a physicist, much less a quantum physicist, which is a whole different branch of fuckity. But quantum entanglement is that not atoms, but subatomic particles are uniquely linked to each other. They will act in equal or opposite ways. So you have for example, you have a ball over here that I start spinning clockwise. And then without any other force acting on it, I have a ball over there that starts spinning counterclockwise.
Right.
You know? And there are things that we just can't understand, but we can see it happening. That's like one of the most interesting experiments I've ever heard of, is that when you observe particles moving, they move like a wave, or they move like particles, like individual particles. And then when you look away and you're not observing, they function as a wave, as a singular mass. And it's incredible. And it kind of goes to like I think, therefore I am. What is reality without human observation? Because human observation seems to have an effect on it.
So by metaphysics standards, reality is independent from a human's mind. Reality will always be reality, whether we think so or not.
But what happens if two things are objective? So, in my last example, a particle is a particle, but a particle is also a wave. When we're not looking at it, only one of those can be true, right?
No, because like we know, it's like we don't even. It's like with photons, we know that they act like a wave, and like it acts like something else, like a particle and a wave at the same time.
I think we're talking about the same experiment.
And it's like, well, we don't really know how it works, but that doesn't mean,
Doesn't mean just because we look at it, it changes. No,
but that's the thing. It is like when humans are observing it.
Right. But that could just be like the conditions in which it's held. So like, I don't know, plants act different at night than during the day, right? Like it could be something like that. Like it could be something we're doing to them to make them react that way. We have no idea.
So in reality, if humans didn't exist and we never had this sun's still going to go up and down. We're still going to rotate. Whether humans exist.
I think I agree with Nick.
If no conscious, just every dumb animal left but us. Right? So everything else, they don't understand that they're going on an axis and they're going in rotation. But reality is they just don't know it.
Well, so this goes to if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Yes.
And no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Yes.
And I would say yes. Say it does.
Because we know sound is real. We know reality.
So is sound just waves, or is sound waves that are perceived by something?
So in reality, sound is...
I think you're confusing the map for the place, is what you're doing.
So in reality, we know that tree makes a sound. Just because we don't hear it does not mean that tree does not make a sound.
Right. So like, would you and I, we all three agree that like the squirrel hiding in your attic is, still there even though nobody knows it's there, right?
Yeah.
Like, just because we don't observe it doesn't mean it's not true.
Okay.
But it's like, how can we, now if the question was framed a little bit different, how do you know there's a squirrel in your attic? It's like, well, you can go look in the attic and you can search for the squirrel and you can figure out yes, no, if it's in there. But those are two different questions. right? One of them is sort of the philosophy of, well, the assumption is that, it's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, until you open the box and look at the cat, it is both dead, alive, and not in there at all.
Exactly. So I think the other part of the podcast I wanted to get into. So, why? Go ahead.
I was going to say, just wrapping up on metaphysics, we seem to all agree that there are going to be certain metaphysical aspects that just can't be verified through the scientific method.
Right.
And that's what defines them as metaphysics.
Right.
Okay.
So, with, today, I feel like most of the time, it's not about finding the objective truth for most people. I think they have a set of beliefs, and they are fixed on that belief, and then whatever the truth is just going to have to conform or die.
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous thing whenever we're trying to progress as humans.
Kind of like Galileo.
Yeah. So, stuff like that holds humanity back. So how do we combat... I mean, there's tons of studies that show...
It's what made the Dark Ages.
So there's... Yeah, right.
Well, no, the fall of the Roman Empire made the Dark Ages, but...
So there's tons of data that shows that once... So, let's pretend we have a fixed belief about, I don't know, just anything.
Spaghetti monster.
But then, whenever evidence shows us that, no, that's not true at all, people, instead of saying, oh, well, I guess I was wrong, they double down and they say, no, because this experiment didn't account for this or that or that or that. And they make a...
Well, I think it's fine to double question experiments.
You don't...
So, no, but that's not what they're doing.
But they're always well, you're not taking account the supernatural part of this and this. It's like, no.
Well, so you're never going to disprove God for believers.
No.
You're not. Because there's always going to be questions left.
Well, that's not even...
people...
It's not even questions like that. This is stuff so that would be in the metaphysical realm.
Right.
But I'm saying in the realm of reality,
I think y'all are confusing metaphysics with something else. Because metaphysics is mostly reality.
No.
At least Aristotle, unless Aristotle is definitely in the form of reality.
Well, we're not talking about... If that is what Aristotle was talking about, that's not at least what we're talking about.
Right.
But...
Because metaphysics states that it tries to find connections between...
Well, we're not even talking about that kind of metaphysics. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I don't understand. Even in beliefs, so
COVID doesn't exist.
Yeah. So people, we can show them the virus in a petri dish, and they will still be like, no, it doesn't exist. And it's well, what do you do with those types of people?
Right. We can show them pictures of the Earth, and they still say it's flat.
Exactly. So
they can prove it themselves round, and they'll still debate.
And this is the problem. It's an incredulity thing. It's somehow they know nothing, but they know more than the experts. Or somehow they know, or the experts didn't account for this, but I can, and here are my... It's a bunch of assumptions. And it's well how do we...
If you see an experiment that you have legitimate complaints for, then they need to account for those variables to prove you wrong.
No. Not whenever the something is objective truth. Whenever we've proven it, and it's been peer-reviewed, and we know it's true... Well, some dumbass from Hickville can be like, no, that's not how it works, because now fuck you.
Well, so I was watching a Flat Earth debunk video on YouTube. And one of the things they do is they say, take you a level on a plane. If the plane is flying in a circle, if it's flying flat, then the level remains level. If it's a globe, then it should tilt, right? Because the nose of the plane should always be pointed a little bit down. Well, of course, that's not what happens. It stays level. The problem is we can account for that. Gravity works.
See, so now what if the person comes to you in your case after you've shown them why they were wrong and they say, well, no, because of another bullshit reason.
Then I take them to the next bullshit reason and I show them why they're wrong.
Okay, but eventually you understand, even according to your own argument, you're going to get to something that you can't explain, and they're going to use that as their entire argument for why the Earth is secretly flat and how you're faking it.
It's kind of like evolution, we can go back as far as we can go back, evolution-wise, before we get to Homo sapien. And they're like, what about this missing link? You're like, okay, there's that one missing link. Just because we haven't found it does not mean it doesn't. And they're like,
well,
see. And it's like, no, dumbass. We just, fuck you. We can prove it.
We've got, these hundreds of species leading up to us, and we're missing, maybe 10, maybe 20.
Maybe
we can show this.
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
Maybe none. Maybe we're not missing
I was
any.
about to say, at this point now, we've got most of the genus Homo figured out.
Yeah.
Like, we've got that pretty much is almost
those,
settled.
we've
but
also
those
just-
3 missing. Your guys' evidence is invalid now.
Yeah.
Because some dumbass from Hickville going,
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like,
why can't it be a dumbass from
is-
like Chicago? Why do they have to be from Hickville? Okay, I
Well-
feel attacked right now.
we're talking mostly about science. So,
yeah, definitely your
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Fuck y'all.
So,
alien believer.
and that's, so, like, how do we deal with the people who, to them, it's not about finding the truth or anything like that. It's about a preservation of belief. They want to believe what they want to believe for whatever reason. How can we convince them if they're wrong?
Well, then they're just. I mean, there is no convincing them. I think at that point.
It's like Scientologists. You can show them that their founder was a science fiction novelist, and they're still gonna be like, "Oh, fuck you, we're gonna sue you now."
Right.
It's like
And there's the lawsuit. I was waiting for the ping on my phone.
Right.
Tom Cruise is gay.
So, wow.
I'll fight that short little man.
Oh my God, Nick!
Stop it.
You're really gonna get us sued, you asshole.
They're going to sue me for the nothing I have.
Yeah, they're gonna come here for the fucking pennies.
They're gonna come here for your fucking hoodies.
Oh,
They're not coming. They're not coming for my AMC money though.
No,
They
hell
get
no.
fucked.
Yep.
You take
We're
your one
that-
piece of lead at a
They
time.
can take their fictional Boeing 747s that they arrived on and get the fuck off.
Hop right back into that volcano.
Okay. So, we're probably all wrong to a degree. I don't think that's
Yeah.
uncommon.
So we don't know all about reality. We just know it exists.
Right, so I'm saying, it's like, even like physics, history, astronomy, whatever, politics, I'm sure even religion, like even within our own theology, we're probably all wrong to a pretty high degree, or a small degree in some cases. But we know some areas, right?
Right.
So how do we, but let's say the areas we're not 100% sure on, how can we justify them? Because I feel like you can justify just about any belief. So like flat earthers will tell you like, well, do you feel like you're spinning? Well, you know, do you see the sun move, or do you see the earth
Yes.
move, or?
Yes, I see the sun move.
Well, they would tell you that seeing the sun move is an observation for the earth staying still and the sun going around it.
Yeah, we debunked that in like the 1400s.
No, I agree with you. But they will use whatever mental gymnastics they have to use. And it's like, well, how do we combat that? And how do we... So my biggest thing is I don't want to normalize crazy beliefs. It's like flat Earth, for some reason, has risen.
thousands and thousands of followers and
Right. And I don't know how we combat that because, I mean, because you attack these people and they feel like it's almost a badge of honor. They see, academia doesn't want you to know the truth. You see, they're closed-minded.
The more you debunk them, the more they feel gratified.
Yeah, and it's like,
I don't know.
What do you do?
Yeah, I don't know that there is anything you do. Like, you might just have to let crazy people be crazy.
You call them idiots and you walk away.
Yeah, so like, I
It's
mean...
like, all right, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Like, all right,
No,
bye.
you call them an idiot.
So what
and
do you
leave.
do whenever those crazy people with wrong beliefs get into power? So like if they're like world leaders or
Start a
if they're professors at your universities, what do you do then?
Start
So
a
for
coup.
example, you can have geologists who may think that the world is 6,000 years old. It's like, whoa, well how, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you can't do geology. I don't know how you got the degree thinking that, you know? But I mean, like what do you do? Like what do you do if an elected official says that climate change isn't real? Or what do you do if says that I don't know, just something else? Like what do you do if they're just so wrong about beliefs? And like how do you deal with that? Like what do you do whenever they start pushing for that wrong belief?
Well, so elected officials are a little bit different because if they got elected, then enough of their constituents agree. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And people have a right, no matter how, in the U.S. at least, no matter how wrong they are, to have their beliefs represented.
Now, what if those beliefs are mass genocide against another one's beliefs?
Then they combat other beliefs. That's the nature.
But doesn't that kind of go with what you were saying though? Like let's say, so like in Nazi Germany, You know, if most of the people were angry and they wanted to see the Holocaust happen, would not your argument say that the government has a responsibility to go with their constituents?
Except, I don't think they did until Hitler started putting that in their head.
Well, that's kind of the point.
And that also has no bearing, like, so your leanings, let's use your Holocaust example, so your belief that the Jews were responsible for Germany's misfortune has no bearing on the morality of what you did. So it's still morally deplorable to do what the Nazis did, of course.
So it's kind of like...
hold on.
Okay, go ahead, Bud.
But that still doesn't change the fact that the constituency of Germany at the time wanted the final solution. Hitler was running on the final solution. And Germany, it's part of the reason he took over the Nazi Party. Remember, he was just kind of there to tag along, and he was just the speech guy. And then he became the face of the entire Nazi Party. And basically the other SS guys who really didn't care about that part of the final solution said, we had better fall in line, or it's going to be our ass with them. So they fell in line with the constituency and with Hitler. And, you know, like, how do you combat stuff like that? Because, I mean...
Well, so one, comparing climate change denial to the Holocaust is pretty...
I did not do that.
No, I'm just saying, like, the two examples we were using. So...
Right, and we didn't compare.
Okay, well... At some point, morality comes in, where you are morally responsible to fight against wrong belief.
Right, but they would tell you that, you know, they would tell you that, like, what, are we supposed to care about the Polish Jew's life more than the... Like, they will rationalize it however they need to.
So look at, like...
To get over the morality, because they've already thrown that away. They've already thrown away everything.
So look at a KKK member, right? He reasons that he is better than every other race, when in reality he's not. But he's been raised and believed, it's beaten in him that you're better than everybody just for being white.
Okay.
So his morals are so out of whack, morality never takes over because in his head he is reasoning he is
This
moral.
is where we combat thought. All you can ever do is combat thought.
But what happens when those thoughts are the majority?
And they have the government. And they have the power.
Then you combat them. You have to fight them, and that's it.
But you're the minority.
Well, fortunately, minorities have rights in America.
I would look back at history and see how true that is. But I mean,
in modern society,
the whole morality. Then why would you frame it as just America? Because minorities have had rights in other places long before they did in America.
Yeah, we had to fight a war.
We were one of the late ones to the game, believe it or not.
Yeah, we had to fight a war for it.
Yeah. Well, even after that, I mean, it went on for over 100 years. Yeah. I mean, by the time our parents were born, interracial marriage was illegal. Homosexuality wasn't legal till, what, a decade ago? Like, you know, it's not like we're on the forefront of human rights.
Well, I know Obama ran on no same-sex marriage.
Then he passed it.
It's been pretty recent.
Well, he passed the law his last term.
So, like, what do we do whenever stuff like that? So, like, how do we... And this is another interesting aspect of philosophy. Morality. So how do we know whether or not something is moral? Because there are a couple of different viewpoints on this. And this will be probably our last segment of the podcast. But
so in reality, no one's better than anybody.
Well, hold on. So there are probably a couple of views here. So
yeah, I'll tell you mine first. So morality does, like, a good thing does no harm to anybody.
So are you the ends justify the means?
A morally good thing does no harm to nobody.
That's not necessarily true. Because, I mean, whether or not it's like...
what decides something's morally good?
Okay, yeah, because I would probably agree with you. Because if someone murders 12 people, then putting him to death is the morally correct thing to do in my mind.
Okay.
But to Wyatt, it's not. Say Wyatt says it's not.
Yeah, say someone's against the death penalty, then you're at odds.
Yeah. I think morality...
So hold on.
Go ahead.
There's a couple of viewpoints here. So, the one that's generally not accepted is it's called divine command theory. So people look to the divine for what's right and wrong. So like Hindus look to the Hindu gods, Christians to God, Jews to Yahweh, Muslims to Allah. and we go from our holy books based on that, what's right and what's wrong. The only problem with that is because even like within Christianity, like different sects of Christianity disagree about what the books say about certain things.
Yeah,
Right.
Protestants did with
And
other
that's-
Protestants, with the Catholics,
And so that's the kind of the reason that one's not generally accepted, is that you can't even get people within the faiths to agree.
You can't get your own tribe to agree on
Right.
something.
So, and then there's it's called utilitarianism. So basically, as long as the good outweighs the bad. This is sort of like an ends justifies the means type thing.
See, the problem with that is sell that to someone dying for someone else's idea.
So that, okay, and then there's another one. God, it's gonna come to me in a minute. But so basically the idea is that there is either something is completely right or completely wrong. And it doesn't matter what the consequences of it are. So like murder would be wrong, period. Doesn't matter if you killed a murderer or a serial killer or if you killed a priest. Killing someone is wrong. That's what they would say. Versus a utilitarian would say, and we're all a mix of the two.
I was about to say.
So, there is no, like, you're just the other one. But,
and I will say, too, morality is almost wholly subjective.
Yeah,
People have individual morality.
Right, and then there's moral relativism. It's not generally accepted either, because it's basically saying that whatever a particular society says at the time, that's what's moral and immoral.
Well, there's a certain political party that goes with that.
Like what?
Moral relativism.
Who?
Democrats.
Huh?
So Democrats never talk about how like Muslims oppress women.
Okay.
It's different cultures, so it's okay.
I don't know that you're being honest in their argument, but I mean, they will generally tell you that, and even Christians will tell you that, like, it's not like they didn't always oppress women.
Yeah, but we don't now.
Well, Christian America doesn't, and I think that's I don't know. We're getting off tangent here, but no, Democrats don't believe in moral relativism. That's not really a thing. Like nobody really is that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They believe
like Prager, you can try and spin that.
They believe in critical race theory that says, whites are immoral just for being white.
Well, that's just racism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not moral relativism. That's just racism. But I don't know. Like I said, morality is almost entirely, if not entirely, subjective. So each person has an inner sense of what's right and wrong. Now, I think Jordan Peterson talks about how like there seems to be some sort of innate human morality. Like most cultures around the world have pretty much always known that murder's bad. At least murder within your tribe.
So the most moral people on earth are babies. They don't understand eugenics or anything.
I would say that's innocence.
So
morality.
Like a baby, they've shown this in studies where they'll take a puppet and they'll have a good puppet and a bad puppet. The bad puppet will kill the good puppet, and when given the offer between the two, 100% will go for the good puppet. Because they don't understand like, oh well, the good puppet did something to the bad puppet. It's like, no, you just know not to kill.
So this is the argument for at least some aspect of innate morality.
So we know from birth that, hey, we're supposed to be kind to our fellow man, stuff like that. But as we grow up, different morality gets pressured onto you. You're raised different from household to household. And you form within yourself your own reason of morality.
Based on, your environment and your own personal beliefs that may change.
Originally, you were the most moral person on earth.
Right. So, hold on. So, do y'all think, so like, the real question is, so like, what makes something moral? Is it the consequences of the action, or is it the action itself?
The action itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are more of, probably, it's called non-consequentialist, is what it's called. So in other words, like, killing is wrong because killing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's no amount of killing that's going to change that. So, like, the truth is, like, we're all kind of a mix of the two. So, like...
Right, so I don't find the death penalty wrong.
Right, but according to... So, like, if you invoked all of... So, like, if it was...
A complete ideology.
Right. So that would say it was wrong, right? So,
Right.
like, killing is wrong because killing is wrong. And the truth is we're all a mix. So, like, I'm probably, like, 60-40, I'm probably a utilitarian. So, like, if the good outweighs the bad, or you're trying to cause the least amount of harm, then, to me, the action can be moral. So
you're ends justify the means.
Sometimes is the answer.
Right, but it's 60% of the time.
Right.
I'm going to come back at you.
So
what do you tell the guy who died for your idea?
Well, he's going to say that the 40% covers that, where
Yeah.
he's not utilitarian.
Right. So it's just like you guys wouldn't say that, you know, like the death penalty, for example. Like
like Jeffrey Dahmer, let's gas chamber him. Like,
yeah,
killing's wrong because killing's wrong, but you killed a lot of people.
So how do you, but people that we don't share ethics with, like, to me, that's the hardest part to convince people of. Like, how do you convince people that say abortion is wrong? How do you convince people that say smoking marijuana is okay? Like, how do you convince these people of these things?
On a moral level?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You have to get them to change their morality.
Which you're not going to do.
Which their morality is a
them.
consequence of your own personal reality, your subjective beliefs, whether objective truth beliefs or subjective beliefs.
So the problem is morality is you. So my morality, your morality, and Y's morality
right, but
are all
understand,
different.
Hold
and
on,
if you want to change that, you're changing the person.
So as a society, we have a morality too. And I think that's what matters. So I don't care if you think that murdering someone is secretly okay. I care if you're actually going to murder people. And if you do murder people, you're going to face consequences. So there was no amount of thought that was going to change Jeffrey Dahmer from what he was doing. Right? Mm-hmm. But we can, as a society, say we don't want to incentivize that. We don't want to make that normal. So how do we make that not normal? Well, we're going to put in certain punishments or stuff to make sure people don't want to do that.
Right.
So, so that's sort of the question. So as a society, how do we can shape the way things are, right? Like a couple of people can change their minds. You're not going to change the people who refuse to see reason for anything. But, you can sway the people who may not have as much of a dog in the fight. So, like, that part is hard because what you need is, like, in America, the answer is probably, like, either government leadership or state and local leadership to do something.
You're going to need money.
Well, that's for anything.
Yeah.
But, I honestly don't know. Getting 7 billion people to all agree on a consensus for morality would be tough enough.
You can't get 10 people in a room to agree.
Yeah, on pretty much anything.
Well, that's not true. We could, like, the consensus throughout all of civilization that we've ever recorded is that murder is illegal. So, however humans...
Well, situational murder is legal.
No. Murder, like the wrongful killing of a human being, that has always been illegal in every civilization we've basically ever found.
Oh, I thought you said legal.
You did. You misspoke, Wyatt. You said murder is legal.
Yeah, I was about to say, what the fuck?
What?
No. Murder is illegal. Yeah. So, like, in every society we've ever found, with written language and laws and a code of ethics, it's always like, okay, you can't kill someone for no reason. Like, that will get you put to death, or...
You've never heard of the Spanish Inquisition.
Comes with us. Well, at least on paper, that's not what we were supposed to do. And, so we could figure that out. The same with thieving. So, like, do we think they got to, like, the Jews, did they get to Sinai, and they were just like, well, I guess murder's wrong. Like, no, they wouldn't have got to Sinai if they didn't already know. Now, I don't think it hurt having God kind of reinforce the thing, but...
Like, hey, just by the way, so y'all know, don't be killing each other.
Right.
What part of thou shalt not kill do you not understand?
Right. Like, every society figured that out. So there's no reason over time that we can't figure more stuff out.
I wouldn't say that, because we go to war, and war's just mass murder.
Yeah, we go to war for dumb reasons.
So, yeah, war is just a mass murder, so war is legal, or murder is legal, in the right circumstances.
Well, but not...
Murder.
So the argument against that would be war is normally prompted by something. Now, whether it's a good prompt or a bad prompt...
Murder is illegal if it's your own citizens.
So it depends on how you define murder. So, like, we define murder as, like, the wrongful killing of a human being.
Right.
And they would tell you that war is kind of an agreement on both sides that killing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't both sides? Both sides can say the other side's wrongfully.
Well, I think saying that war is morally wrong may not be like a terrible thing. But so that's again saying like, so killing's wrong, so we don't execute Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, so war is wrong, so we don't go to war after 9/11. Like, yeah, obviously we should have gone to war with somebody else. But I'm just saying, like, in principle.
Right. I mean, like, I'm against the death penalty probably for different reasons. I don't think it's necessarily a morality issue. But, I mean, definitely, I don't know what you do. So, like, how can you prove to somebody that, like Garrett, how would you prove to someone that abortion is 100% immoral?
By proving that it's a human life. But even then, I've had plenty of Facebook arguments that even once you use all your evidence to prove that it's a human life, they still don't care.
Okay. And see, like, it's like, well, I'm kind of at the point now where I've had those arguments hundreds of times, and I'm like, well, fuck, I guess you can't convince anybody of anything, regardless of the facts. And that's
right.
The scary part about the information age. So we don't really care what the truth is.
Yeah,
it's all about being first.
It's all about being first, and it's not even about being right. It's about just being first and about preserving belief. It's not about being the right belief.
So I can come out with an article saying Wyatt beats his wife, and then it doesn't matter why. It's like, well, she threatened me with a knife. She came at me, so I had to hit her. No one hears that part. They just hear Wyatt beats wife. That's all they hear.
Exactly.
It's like,
well, like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like they got him kicked off and get all this shit.
Fantastic.
And it turns to find out
she beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But
she never got super punished.
No. Her own parents hate her now.
Good. You beat up Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, he was already super emasculated. Did you have to kick his ass too?
Yeah, they're trying to sue her, and Johnny Depp might win.
He should.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know. So any like wrapping thoughts about like what we can and can't know? Like Nick, what would you say like?
So my biggest issue is you're never gonna get reality and reason to come together. So that's the hardest part. So no matter how much you can show someone reality, they're gonna reason something else.
Okay.
So it's like a tree falls in the woods, and no one's around to hear it. Does it make a sound? It's like, yes, we know it makes a sound, but convincing people, like, well, we couldn't hear it. It's like, yeah, that's still, but...
So I disagree with the framework just a little bit. So, like, reason, like I said, it's a tool. It's kind of like a hammer. Like they build hospitals and they build, like, bombs. Like they...
Who the fuck is working on a bomb with a hammer?
The tester. He hits it and then he rides the
anyway.
So, I mean, like, there's good and bad. So, I think you got to be able to filter out which is which. So, but Garrett, final thoughts?
So on morality, I really don't think there's anything you're going to be able to do to convince people, because morality is the combination of metaphysical, physical, reality, and reason. It's the combination along with personal, subjective belief. And I just don't think you're ever going to get anyone to budge on the combination of all these things. Now, there are some people that you're just not going to convince that the earth is round, because they don't want to believe that the world is round.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know what to do about those people, but you kind of just have to accept reality for what it is. I mean, that would be an aspect of reality to me, is that some people just aren't going to change their mind.
Yeah,
with the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I might change my mind on the vaccine in like 10 years when they've thoroughly tested it and why it hasn't died.
So when reality comes in and says it's completely safe, then your reason will change to get it.
Yeah. I mean, well, I may still not get it.
I mean, probably not.
Yeah. You ignore
probably
it.
not.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't want this particular vaccine. And I've never gotten a flu vaccine. I've never gotten a pneumonia vaccine.
Right.
But you got the measles and the mumps.
What would have been better, Nick, if
they'd have killed me, though.
If you'd have said like Garrett with the ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
Because what could we give you? Like I said, like how do you prove there are no fairies in the garden?
Yeah, it's unfalsifiable, which is part of the problem in proving it. But anyway, I think you just kind of have to accept that
people are dumb.
It's not even that people are dumb. People believe differently than you. And, on some things they're going to be being dumb and they're wrong.
People denying reality are dumb. So in reality, the
Yeah, if you're
Earth's
flat
round.
Earth, if you're flat Earther, you're dumb. But I'm still not going to be able to change your mind on it. So why
Yeah.
bother myself?
See,
Why worry so much?
but what would you say if someone said you're stupid because of your belief about ancient civilizations?
They'd be right.
Mm.
No.
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
people
Like,
yeah.
people say I'm stupid for a lot of different beliefs that I have.
I know, but I'm just saying, like to them it means nothing. You know, like,
Right.
If anything, they're just, it's like, see, they don't want
Well,
you
I'm
to
not
know.
saying that calling them stupid would change their mind. I'm just saying that sometimes you just have to accept to let people be stupid and
Yeah.
go on. So if you disagree with me on abortion, I mean, we've had the argument several times, and we're just going to have to agree to
Right.
disagree.
So here's, I'm okay with agreeing to disagreeing until a person has power. So, like the Texas State Board of Education wanting it to be written in the textbooks that evolution is just a theory and not necessarily the truth. I mean, that, like, you cannot be on the Board of Education, in my opinion. You shouldn't be allowed to be on the Board of Education and not admit evolution is a fact. Like that, I mean, flat out. I mean, like...
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't really have a problem. Like, the evolution dogma, I think, is on its way out. Like,
What do you mean?
Well, I think most Christians accept that evolution was the mechanism by which God created man.
Well, we're Lutherans. We're a pretty progressive side, but I don't know that most
No.
evangelicals...
I wouldn't call us progressive.
Yeah, don't call us progressive. That's ugh.
I mean,
Well, compared to, like, evangelicals who think that, you know...
what? I went to.
Who think you can kiss snakes just because God won't let it bite you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have a firm belief that God won't let me get hurt. But God also lets things happen to stupid people.
And I think he
To
wants.
teach him a lesson.
I think he likes to laugh every now and then.
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know.
Kicks.
So my biggest thing, and, we'll go over it, I'm sure, in more, like, politics podcasts, but, like, I have a problem whenever they... Like, you believe whatever you want to believe, that's fine. But whenever you're in power, you have a responsibility to the truth.
Don't weep for the
And that-
stupid. You'll be crying.
And
all
I don't care if your constituents don't believe in evolution. Like, that's not my problem.
Not
But
mine.
it is theirs. You understand?
And I understand that, and that's fine. You're an adult. You don't have to believe in evolution, but your kids are going to know the truth, whether you like that or not. At least they deserve to hear the truth.
So what if they hear? So they hear the truth, but they go home and their parents say it's wrong, and then they grow up not believing in
Yeah,
evolution.
like if Katie comes home and says there's more than 2 genders.
Well, you understand,
And
they're
then
not pushing that for textbooks. This is very different, and don't try and make this more than what it is. I mean, like, this is this is a real case.
Yeah,
Like,
so
we
what-
don't have to go to hypothetical.
What happens though when the kid comes home, tells their parents about evolution? Their parents sit them down and tell them that's not real. This is how it happened, and they just don't believe in evolution anymore.
So it's totally fine to not believe in evolution. It is your right.
It'll probably be a
free
generational
thought.
thing.
But what we shouldn't do is we shouldn't
Make laws.
have a science class where we tell them that evolution has no...
Or a biology class that
Merit.
says there's more than 2 genders.
Yeah.
Like,
And first of all, that's not what they're teaching in biology class. Nor should they. And they should
I'm pretty
continue...
sure California
to-
teaches...
The
not
mitochondria is the
do
powerhouse
that.
of the cell.
We will always know that.
I don't know how to do taxes, but I know that.
But would y'all agree with that general statement? It's like people
Yeah,
in
if
power
you're an elected
have a
official,
responsibility to reality more than their
your
constituents.
personal beliefs should not be inflicted with reality.
I agree.
When you're an elected official, I think it's a little weird because you have a responsibility to further the convictions of your base, of your people who elected you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think
So they should-
as an elected official, your first and foremost responsibility is to the people who elected you.
So you can pass laws about anti-abortion. You can do that for your morality reasons, because that's always going to be a debate whether abortion is right or wrong. There is no debate. Evolution is a thing. You cannot debate that. That is, we can prove it, and if you don't believe it, you're just blind.
Yeah, either you don't, and this isn't you, obviously.
Yes.
Right.
But if you're one of the people who don't believe in evolution to any degree, then it's because you aren't informed on the issue, and that may not be your fault.
Or you're not willing to accept
right
outside of your own dogmas.
and that may not be your fault, but you shouldn't pass that burden on to your kid. And if we're going for the smartest society here, like one of the better societies, we can't lie to children. We can't tell them.
Quit telling them Santa Claus is real, damn it!
What?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick.
The difference.
Wait, my fucking cookies then.
No, I get your point. I was just being facetious.
Who ate the fucking cookies then?
But I mean, like, I don't. It's like if a constituency in like Pennsylvania, for some reason, thinks that the Earth is flat.
You don't teach flat Earth in schools.
You still don't get to teach flat Earth in schools.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't care. It's part of my problem with this critical race theory. I don't care what your constituency wants. You, as an educator, have a responsibility to teach the truth. Now, that goes against your argument. Like, you're saying that they have a right to defend their constituency's beliefs. And I just
disagree with those beliefs.
I just disagree. You're right. But you're understanding that could mean that both, Texas teaches no evolution.
And California teaches critical race theory.
Critical race theory. And we have a bunch of societies who are even more polarized because neither one of them give a flip about the truth. And it's like, well, what do you do?
Both don't care about reality when they're slapping him in the face.
And it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, well, you got to tell them both that, whenever you're in power, you have a responsibility to do the truth first. All right. Any wrapping thoughts?
No.
I think overall, I would conditionally agree with you.
Right. As long as it's not your side that has to give in on the truth. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's to be fair. That's how everyone is. I'm sure I'm like that on probably something, right? But I mean that's kind of the thing we got to override. We got to tell people that, like, look, you believe in some fake shit, and that's okay.
Well, so, like, what if people came along and said, like, Jesus was fake? Like, I would have a problem with that.
Well, in reality, we can prove he was a person.
Right.
And we can prove by Roman
we have
written down things that he was at least a real person. Now, did he do what he said we did? We don't know.
Well, we know he was real and he was crucified.
Yeah.
So
not the way you think, though. He was not crucified in a T formation.
It was an X.
Yeah. So we reason that he was crucified T, but in reality, it was an X.
Okay, well, I think that has been it for this podcast. This went a little bit longer than I thought, but it's okay. We had fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later. We may get more on politics, but
we're probably going to start releasing the podcast on Wednesdays now, just so you guys know. Wyatt here, who does most of our editing, finally joined the working class.
About time.
Yeah, this elitist fucker starting out at a warehouse.
Nice.
Yep.
All right.
You're welcome to hell, boy.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week. We'll see if we can return to politics. Or we may just continue this fun stuff. This has been more fun this way, I think.
I like conspiracies more.
Yeah, conspiracy's more fun. So leave a comment what you'd like to see and tell us your favorite episode so far. All right. We'll talk to y'all later. This has been the Refined Peasants.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell in the corner. And, be sure to let us know if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see from us next. We're a new upcoming podcast. Share it with your friends if you're confident.